All right. Well, welcome everyone to this Unrest Emmy Action joint call for Time for Unrest. Um, if you joined us last week, you got a little bit of an introduction to the whole Unrest team. You got to see the office in LA and a variety of different team members. We talked about kind of overall release plans and distribution, how the film is going to start to be rolled out and showed to different people. You got to meet some of our lovely impact members, team captains like Lori and Erica. And now we are going to this second call is where we're really going to dig in and talk about a lot of the ways that detailed ways that you can get involved in the Time for Unrest campaign and how you can participate. And we at MA Action are really excited for this. It's a moment we've been waiting for. The full impact campaign will kick off in September, and so the purpose of this call is to kind of get the ME Action community together to understand things, to ask questions if you need, so we can really roll this out in a strong, compelling way and get the world to know and pay attention to this issue. So, with that, I'm going to just introduce a few of our people on this call. So, hi, I'm Ben Suborger. I'm the community organizer with ME Action. So, I talk with a lot of you. Some of you I talk with over email, or you may message us on Facebook, or others of you are already volunteering long term with us. Today, we're going to be talking about the public ways that everybody can get involved through ME Action and with Unrest. But I just want to acknowledge there are a lot of people who've given many hours of their time to get us to this point, which is super exciting. And as we kind of roll out some of the materials, the advocacy materials that we'll be developing and showing to people that ME Action will be a part of, I just want to recognize there are a lot of people who we've depended upon in the community who have helped get us there and who are helping to continue to get us there. And if you want to get involved in some maybe deeper ways, or you have some specific ideas of how you'd like to help, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to get you even more plugged in. Um, so with that, I'm going to introduce Lamia. She's our Deputy Director of ME Action. She joined us in July, and we're super excited to have her on board. So if you can say hi, Lamia.
Hi, everyone.
She, uh, we're really excited, and so she comes from a lot of different, a wide background of work, from working with Pepsi and IBM to the United Nations and a variety of different social justice um, work and nonprofit work, which really brings an exciting angle of kind of looking at, where a lot of us are kind of in our patient and ME mode. And so it's great to have someone with Lamia and her depth of background of experience to help us as we begin to grow and scale as ME Actions. And we'll have more information for you about that as we go later on, but some really cool stuff in the pipeline. And then I just want to introduce Lori Jones. You want to say hi, Lori?
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see some of you that I already saw last call, and then excited for new faces too. This is amazing.
Yes. Lori is over our the kind of global impact campaign. As you know, we're doing Unrest in many different countries. She's juggling a lot of different balls, helping us out. And then, and she's in LA, as is Lamia. And Erica Ailes is also on the call. And she's the US campaign manager. And so really focused kind of a lot of the stuff we're starting off on is we're developing a lot of the materials first in the US, and then iterating them out into different countries and contextualizing them. So Erica is really kind of on the front end, the leading edge of a lot of the things we're doing. So if you can say hi, Erica.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thanks so much for your support as always.
Yeah. I got to hang out with Erica. We first met in June of this year. She came on board, and there was she comes from kind of a film impact campaign background. So we got to meet in DC with a lot of other filmmakers doing different kinds of taking their documentaries and using them in ways to make social change in the world. And Erica has a lot of experience with a bunch of really cool different campaigns. So we're super excited to have her on board and start to learn from her. So thank you all for joining. And now I'm going to hand this over to Lori. Lori's going to review some of kind of the film campaign goals, our partners and our initiatives, and give us a bit of an overview of things as we kick off. So Lori, you want to take over?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be brief because a lot of this I said on the last call, but for those who weren't there, just want to give a really quick overview, and then we'll dive deeper into the other pieces. So like Ben said, the Time for Unrest campaign is a global campaign. So we have on-the-ground impact producers in the US, the UK, and Australia, and we have a lot of support in Scandinavia. But we are making our community screenings available all over the world, and certainly want to support groups who are wanting to do pieces of our goals all over the world. So we really do want this to be really big, and it's already growing so much, which is so exciting. So in the US, we have a growing list of allies and partners, and that's true in the UK and Australia. In the US, we're obviously partnering with IMI Action, which is just so great because it's just filled with people who have been working around this issue in so many direct advocacy ways. And we really want to make that a huge part of what we're doing. And then we're also working with Solve and OMF to highlight a lot of the research components as well. And in the UK and Australia, the partner list is growing. And as you are speaking to the UK or the Australian impact producers, they'll be able to highlight the specific groups that they're working with as well. And so for our overall goals of the campaign, the most important goal being that we want to gain mass recognition for ME/CFS. And
hey, Lori, I'm going to pause you for a second. So I'm actually going to share my screen, and I'll show a lot of the, if you guys looked at the invite that went out by email, there was a handout there, but I'm going to put my screen on so you can see that while Lori kind of talks through some of those goals.
Perfect.
So go ahead, Lori.
That's great. So obviously the first goal being that we want to get the word out to everyone. So the more that this is common knowledge, obviously that benefits us on all sorts of levels. So that's why this mass community screening programs, any sort of large-scale press event, just getting more and more recognition. And then, of course, we want to mobilize this community and an ally community to advocate on behalf of those with ME/CFS and other complex illnesses as well, understanding that the scope of individuals who have complex illnesses is absolutely vast, and that the last two goals are really impacted by the fact that there are so many people who don't have a diagnosis and often don't have empathetic care. So our third goal being that we want to promote a culture of knowledgeable and empathetic care for the patient community is really huge, but also very exciting. We're hoping to get into, we're already getting into medical schools across the United States and the UK, where we are prompting conversation through the film so that medical students who otherwise would not talk about ME in their curriculum are able to discuss and debate different aspects of this disease. And also, we have a lot of plans around going to different medical conferences with our VR component of the film. So having doctors sit through a virtual reality experience at a conference and get an idea of what it feels to live with ME is also a big part of what we're planning to do in 2018. And then lastly, we want to inspire new scientists to the field. And obviously these goals are enormous. And we realize that out of all the impact campaigns I've worked on for documentaries, this is by far the biggest, most ambitious set of goals. And I think that is terrific because this is also the biggest community that I've ever walked into. So I think that we can do all of these goals, but we can only do them with your help and with the help of others. So that in a nutshell is the overview.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Lori, to the others, myself not having like a film impact campaign. Apparently, this is a whole kind of sphere of industry work to take documentary films and try to use them for social change. And through Unrest, through kind of some of my connections with Jen and Unrest, I started to learn a little bit about this world, and was so just kind of blown away by what Jen and all of you guys are kind of taking on with this campaign, which is really to be commended. I mean, Emmy Action, I'm always thinking about kind of the long-term organizing work, and that's so important. But something like a documentary film can play such a unique role in shaking things up and changing the status quo. And my privilege of kind of having been able to go to some of these conferences with Erica and meet some of these other filmmakers, seeing other film campaigns, I really was blown away by like, a lot of people are doing this. This is a great thing. But what we are taking on here is really ambitious and is really big. And I think for some people, like people's eyes are kind of on, okay, the film is coming. I'm going to see the film and that's going to be great, which will be awesome. And it will be a theatrical experience, something great to like watch as a piece of art. But this time for unrest component really is something huge and ambitious and not done before. And so we as kind of the reason we're kind of holding this call is to kind of get all of you hopefully excited and on board and understanding what we're trying to do, because we can't do it without you. That's quite simply the point. Lori, did you want to talk through the calls to action or?
Actually, Erica is going to talk through the calls to action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Erica, do you want me to keep sharing my screen, or do you want to me to stop and you can?
Sure. If that's helpful for others, that's fine with me.
As you go through the calls to action, I'll hold this up and then I'll stop sharing my screen. So take it away, Erica.
Wonderful. Okay, so thanks so much, Laurie, for that overview. I think that's wonderful. And Ben, again, for reiterating, the broad scope of this campaign, but, how excited we are to have your support. And, really a campaign of this size could not be done without such an incredible community. So thanks again. So just to walk through our calls to action, after folks see the film, we really want to drive them to our website, which is timeforunrest.org. And that's going to be kind of like a hub for the campaign. So we're going to have calls to action that will change throughout the course of the campaign. So, over the next 6 to 8 months or so. But our three kind of overarching calls to action are going to be, one, share the film. So either share the film by hosting a screening or just getting the word out to your community. The second will be advocate for Emmy. So we'll have several advocacy opportunities that you can take part in and encourage your friends and family to take part in. These will be US specific, but also global advocacy opportunities. So those will likely change throughout the course of the campaign, and we're really excited to work with Emmy Action to help inspire these advocacy opportunities. And then our third call to action, which is really intended for the medical and scientific community, is to pledge to be an Emmy ally. So, we really want to get doctors and scientists out there to pledge to care about Emmy and really, sign themselves up so we can continue to follow up with opportunities to get them involved in the campaign. So, like I said, we'll have tailored calls to action that will change throughout the course of the campaign, but these are three that we'll definitely have for you all.
And I just want to hop in briefly to Erica, that pledge we hope will evolve into a list of practitioners that we can rely on and hold accountable. So if they are pledging to create a safe space of empathetic care, then then we'll have this growing list of people that we can turn to. So that's also a big goal of that.
And so, Erica, I want to ask you just one other question. So to explain to people, so if I go to timeforunrest.org, excuse me, and plug that in, it takes me here. So can you explain a little bit about what is this page here, and where am I going to find this other information you're talking about
Sure.
later on?
So the great thing about this call is that it's kind of like a sneak preview to the campaign before it officially launches in September. So for the time being, timeforunrest.org will redirect to our Kickstarter page, which Ben has up here. And we're so excited that we reached our public goal. So these funds are really to support the film campaign and take our goals and initiatives and make them as broad and global as possible. So this page here is really supporting our efforts that we're discussing today. So we're so excited about this campaign. The Kickstarter is time-bound, so it will be ending in the next week or so.
6 days.
Yeah, 6 days. Thanks, Ben. So between the Kickstarter and the official launch of the campaign, timeforunrest.org will redirect to unrest.film, the film's website. But once the campaign officially kicks off, we're going to have all of these tools and calls to action live on our site. So if you go there in the next few weeks and you're wondering, hey, where is all this stuff on the call? Just know that it will be live mid-September when the campaign officially launches.
Awesome, thank you. So in terms of moving to our next section, who wants to, Laura, are you going to lead it, or Erica? And do you need me to share my screen, or are you going to share kind of, if you need me to share anything, I can, just let me know.
Perfect. I think for now we can talk through this. I think, Erica,
Great.
you were going to talk about hosting a screening.
Yeah, so just to dive in, now that you have our broad goals and calls to action, I think now is a great time to talk about different ways to get involved in the campaign right now. So we've been talking about this for quite some time now, but really the first way that you can really get involved in the campaign is by hosting a screening of Unrest in your community. So this will look, a lot of different ways, that you can host a screening, as Laurie said, all around the world right now. And the best and easiest way to do that is to visit our website, unrest.film, and go to the host a screening section where you'll find a form that you can fill out, and it will direct you to our partner organization called Film Sprout. And so we're working closely with Film Sprout to host these screenings around the world, and they'll work with you on all logistics and make the process really easy and smooth. And Laurie and I can help answer any questions about that. Many of you, I believe, are already in this, but we've started a Time for Unrest Facebook group where you can kind of join to learn more about what the hosting a screening process is like. And you can talk to other screening hosts, ask questions. Laurie and I are monitoring the page often so that we can, get to your questions. But this is a really exciting area where you can kind of collaborate with other folks.
And I just will add that Emmy Action has offered to sponsor a certain amount of community screenings, and we do have a survey to fill out to see if you qualify for Emmy Action to sponsor your particular community screening. And we'll be sure to post that survey in the chat after we're finished, or you'll get it in a follow-up email. And you can apply to see. I know that there's a big strategy around Emmy Action to try to mobilize a larger community. So I'm sure it all depends on where it is exactly. But if you have the means to support your own community screening, of course, we absolutely encourage that. And then there's also this this option too for applying for an Emmy Action supported screening. Ben, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. Oh, you're muted, Ben.
Sorry. I'll add just a little bit. I know some of you have started to fill out that that screening form, and thank you. And you're asking, you want to know as soon as possible whether you've gotten the free screening, and we're going to need to take a little more time to evaluate that, but we will be getting back to everyone. And kind of the purpose, as Lori is saying, is Emmy Action, the free screenings that Emmy Action is looking at are ones that will help benefit those groups who are working with Emmy Action. That in different areas where it may be too much, we're trying to build a global network of activists all around the world working for health equality for people with ME. And in some areas, it just isn't really possible or feasible right now for them to kind of take on paying for a license fee. That's part of what we're doing. We're hoping to jumpstart some stuff. And so in that sense, we want to kind of keep open. Are there people within the Emmy Action community who want to come forward and say, look, we could really take our groups to the next level if we could use an Unrest screening to do this, and could Emmy Action help? So that's kind of the purpose in what we're looking at this. As Lori kind of mentioned, there are many ways, Emmy Action's funding some. Of course, there are other ways to do things. When you go as we look at doing things through medical schools or conferences or universities, oftentimes those groups can and do pay for screening fees themselves. And so that's not something Emmy Action would. I'm here in Wisconsin right now, and I've been in conversation with our state patient organization, the Wisconsin MECFS Association, and they're like really excited about the film and how to use it. And so they're kind of coming in as a partner and saying, hey, this is some way we can help out. We'll pay for some of the screening fees. And Emmy Actions, and since I'm in Wisconsin, I'm really excited about helping out too. Emmy Actions looking at how we can kind of mobilize our base and do things that like haven't been done. So, one of the just to kind of give you a bit of a preview, like we're having this conversation around, we've like these state groups have like tried different ways of like getting into and reaching out to medical schools and the doctor groups in our areas, and they haven't had success before. And so we're looking at, okay, can Unrest help us attack this from like a different angle? And maybe can Emmy Action leverage some of its digital resources to like help promote what this state group is doing? So there are a lot of different configurations of what things can look like. Emmy Action, unfortunately, can't afford to pay for screenings for all of you guys. I know, I wish we could. But just so Emmy Actions, we are looking at sponsoring some screenings. Those will be kind of both the highest impact and the highest need is the kind of the criteria we'll be using for them. And even if you don't receive like a free screening through Emmy Action, there's still plenty of ways we can talk about ways to get that funded to launch that. And if there are other expenses associated, please come and talk to me, and we can I can help you think of and the Film Impact team can help you think of creative ways that we can overcome any barriers that might be in your particular situation. So that's all I have to say.
Yes, I think that is exactly right. So whether that is brainstorming with Ben about ways to get the screening fee, or whether that's brainstorming with us on the Facebook group or any other way, certainly this film is for you all. So we never want the screening fee to be a barrier. So we are very happy to brainstorm different ways. We also have different funders that come in that say they want to support a screening fee or several screening fees. So oftentimes we're able to figure pieces out. So just be communicative with us, and then we'll figure out the best way to move forward. And of course, a community screening isn't the only way to be involved, and it may not even be the best way to be involved for you personally. So a couple of pieces, and then I'll segue into the Film Captain section, which I know is next. we are going to have a theatrical release of the film, and we mentioned that on our last call. So we will be in New York, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Chicago, and we believe we'll also be in Atlanta. So a lot of different ways to go to the actual theatrical screening of the film. And then for those that aren't able to attend in person, we are having screenings online of the film. In all of the theatrical cities, we're allowed to have one digital screening of the film. And as soon as that becomes available, we'll be sure to post it in the Facebook group, and then also spread it out far and wide, so you're able to buy tickets to a virtual event.
Lori, can you also just mention quickly because you haven't mentioned the amount of the screening fee, and so how do people find out what the screening fee amount is, or the different scenarios they might encounter?
Yeah,
Since
so
not everybody's a film industry expert.
totally, of course.
Yeah.
And this varies to film, but the price that is set at the moment is $250 for a screening fee. And so oftentimes through ticket sales, people are able to make that back just with the screening itself. So most of the time, this doesn't put people in a terrible burden, or communities are able to split it between a group of 10 people. But again, definitely do want to reiterate that if that is problematic, please reach out to us and we'll figure out good ways. We're also open to these screenings being fundraisers. So just because you paid the screening fee, and it doesn't mean you just have to make your money back. You can make more than your money back, and we love that. So if you're fundraising for your local Emmy Action Group or any specific, or you want to fundraise to give more money to your local hospital or whatever it is,
or a local support group that you may be a part of.
Absolutely. The sky's the limit, and we do not restrict that. So we hope that this is helpful to you, and that you can actually make more money from it and not lose money from the screening fee.
Yeah. And two other things, I know we need to keep moving on, but one thing just to mention, somebody from Austin reached out to me, Austin, Texas, in the US, reached out to me recently. They're part of our Emmy Action community. And we had been connecting with a few people, and she was really excited about Unrest and bringing Unrest to her city. But she was also a little bit intimidated. She was kind of coming out to other people in her public circle for the first time with her disease, and didn't feel like she could take on the doing the screening all herself. And so I helped. One of the ways Emmy Action helped was not paying for this screening, but helping to mine our email lists and our different contacts in a particular area where there wasn't a support group, and help her find a bunch of other people that could work with her. And she started her own meetup group, and we introduced her to, of course, there's the Time for Unrest Facebook page, which everybody should be joining, to kind of meet other people and connect. But so you may not think may not think you have the resources or the ability or enough people around you to help you host a screening. But I would just say and maybe you don't, maybe that's not the right way to get involved, but I would just say to you, if you're feeling that way, have a conversation with us, because there might be ways that we can help you remove some of those barriers that that you don't even know about. Because I might have a list of 100 people I could email in your city, and ask them to help out. So that's just a quick reminder. And then I think, is Erica going to talk about the film captains next? Or?
Actually, I think I'm going to keep talking about the film captains. Is that right, Erica?
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right. But one more thing just to add with the community screenings, and I know we covered this on our last call, but the timeline for hosting is indefinite. So you could start hosting screenings now, and they can run into 2018 and beyond. So don't feel like you need to do this immediately. It's sure exciting, but if you need to screen, next year, that's certainly a possibility.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. That's perfect. And Ben, do you want to go ahead and share the piece about the film captains, and then we can all look through that together?
Yes.
So to preface the film captains, we again want this film to be useful to you in so many ways, and we also want to mobilize everyone to use their talents the best to get the word out about Emmy, and hopefully using the film to do that. So we have a lot of different options in what we consider an Unrest film captain. So there are basically three big buckets in terms of being a film captain, and we will have there is a sign up form so that you can sign up to be a film captain and then indicate what your strength is. But the first piece of this is if you want to be a super host, and so this is for going above and beyond what most people do in terms of hosting a screening. And certainly hosting a screening is in and of itself a huge thing, and we are not at all or don't want to diminish how important that is. But there are a lot of hosts that are set apart from the others where they are so ready to advocate on a bigger scale and use this community screening for larger scale work in terms of mobilizing press and getting out on social and lots of big pieces. And so we want to support you in that. And so we consider that one way to be a film captain. Another big way to be a film captain is through social. So we are going to be having so many different screenings across the country. So community screenings, we hope to have hundreds. We're already getting up there, which is so great. And so we want to build a group of people that are ready to share on social all of our good news about these moments, about these advocacy moments, so that hopefully through our own networks, more and more people can hear about the work that we're doing. So whether that's a specific community screening in your area, or whether that is a brand new petition or a brand new call to action, or if it's an exciting thing where the unexpected came to a screening and we want to get that out. And with that, very related to that, we want a group of people ready to live tweet for certain events. So we can't announce it yet because we don't have all of our permissions set yet, but we are planning to do a large-scale VR event of some kind, and we're hoping to have volunteers ready to live tweet their own Emmy story or how they're feeling in the moment, so that people who are experiencing the VR are also really present in the idea that there are so many people at home tweeting with their own thoughts and experiences. So it just really brings in pieces of the community so that passersby who randomly experience the Unrest VR are also keyed into how many people are sitting at home. And so that's a film captain in a nutshell. And we're going to grow these as well as the campaign evolves. So there may be even other ways to be a film captain. But at the moment, this is what we have. And you can go ahead and let us know your interest now. And we'll be reaching out to people shortly.
Great. Thanks, Laurie. Yeah, so that's in a gist, the Film Captain initiative that we have so far. And just to kind of go into our third initiative that we have developing on our end, and as we prepare for the launch of the campaign, we really want to be able to, empower the ME patient community to, say on social why it's time for unrest. So, now is the moment to, if you feel comfortable, to go out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and say why, now is the moment that it's time for unrest. And our impact campaign team will be, collecting stories and with your permission, hopefully, bring stories of why it's time for unrest to certain events, where there are policymakers or scientists or medical professionals. So that's an initiative that we're excited to announce more about soon. But we've listed a few guidelines here just for you to use and some helpful hashtags for us. So that's an exciting initiative that we'll be able to share more about in the coming weeks as well.
Perfect. And I think we've covered it, and we want to make sure that we leave enough time for all of your questions.
Great. So why don't I let Erica, do you want to, we have a few questions that have been put in the chat box already. Do you want to start to answer some of those, and then everyone else, you can start to think about questions you might have. You can put them in chat, or you can also then, once we answer these few initial ones, you can unmute yourselves and ask your question there.
Sure. So I'm seeing a few questions about the community screening fee. Someone asked, if I find a movie theater that will play the film, does it cost $250 each time it's shown? So the way it works right now is that it is indeed, you have to pay the screening license fee per event. So we're really encouraging folks to create, a large community event with, folks from your community and panel discussions or Q&As after, however you'd like to set it up. So the idea is that that fee covers that one specific event.
And so if your theater is wanting to, if you go to your local theater and they want to do a run of the film, that's certainly a possibility. And it may not even apply to the same community screening license if it is a run of the film in the theater. That's less typical, but it's a possibility. And so you still email FilmSprout, and then they can figure out if it's really more of a theatrical distribution situation, which we can handle outside of the community screenings program, or if it really is a community screening. And so if something like that comes up, just feel free to email our friends at FilmSprout, and they'll figure out the best next steps.
Great. And I saw another question. Where does that $250 go? So it does not go to making the film. The film's already done. So what it really helps support is more community screenings. So so making sure that we can really go far and wide with the number of community screenings that we can have around the world.
And really specifically, like if really specifically, there are people we're paying that help run our community screenings program, that do all the logistical works, paying for them to do the work. And then, of course, all the pieces involved in that. So, of course, it costing money for printing and DVDs and all the different pieces of setup for the community screenings program. So this is going to all of those costs.
And Lori, can you say one thing? Somebody mentioned a question about just shipping. If somebody's in a different country, like, is there a shipping fee, or what goes on there?
There is a shipping fee, and I don't know exactly what it is. It obviously depends on where they are, but it is very small. They tried to keep the shipping fee very, very small.
Thanks.
I can mention something about that really quickly. To ship from the US to the Netherlands is $25.
Thank you for that.
So I see Amy Mooney, who's in Chicago, has a question about community screenings and theatrical showings. So if there's if things are showing theatrically, does that affect community screenings?
It does.
And how does that work?
Yeah, so community screenings are happening right now all across the country, except in our theatrical cities. So in our theatrical release cities, so New York, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, the community screenings have to start after those theatrical dates just because of contracts. But you can still go ahead and work out a date for your community screening now with FilmSprout. You'll just have to, that date will have to be after those premiere dates. Does that answer that question? Okay.
Great. And I'm seeing, oh, go ahead, Ben.
No, you can go ahead. I'm just reading through this one. I think it's from Mariana about Spanish language.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a question saying that someone has a lot of community management and online advocacy experience, but they work mostly in the Spanish-speaking community. So can they make Time for Unrest content in Spanish? So yes, absolutely. As Ben discussed, we are really working on our content, kind of piloting it here in the United States, but we really wanted to go far and wide, and really would love your help to localize these assets. So, so you can reach out to me or our team, or maybe Ben, you can help organize that.
Yeah. She can reach out to me, and we can start a conversation. So this is the kind of thing, like, we've already bitten off like an incredible amount with this impact campaign, but there's always more to do. As Jen was saying, like you guys are talking about how to swallow the sun, and then somebody's like, how about we swallow the universe? So if you guys have bigger and bigger ideas of how we can expand this campaign, please come to us. If you're already connected with ME Action, talk to me, and we can figure out what we can do. We would love to make some of those dreams work.
Absolutely.
So just email or contact me.
And as far as the film will be available in Spanish, and I am pretty sure that's going to be October. Is that right, Erica?
I believe so. Yes.
So we'll make sure as soon as we have everything back, we'll be sure to just let everyone know when those other languages will be available. In terms of, a lot of people have questions about promotional kits and templates.
Okay. No. Go ahead, Lori. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
I was just going to say this. I see Stephen asking a question about, he's saying that he's interested in discussing strategies of engaging audiences, and that's great, because we're already doing some strategic thinking, and we've got kind of a plan in place. But if you have skills or things you'd love to volunteer to it, please reach out to me. And that's one of the things ME Action is doing, is that we are, ME Action as staff, we are working closely with Unrest to roll out this impact campaign. But of course, ME Action is much more than just our staff. And there are lots of volunteers around the world who are helping make this possible. And there are many things that are outside of my expertise. And I'm all the time like contacting different members through our network saying, hey, could you help with this? Or what do you think of that? So as kind of Erica mentioned, we are going to have a Time for Unrest website. There will be a bunch of advocacy materials there. The strategy will be to drive people from the screens to go check out this website, and then give them more ways to get involved. And ME Action is going to be a key partner in that. So if you have ideas or different thoughts you'd like to contribute, or maybe just man hours to help out, please get in touch with ME Action, and we can help see different ways you can be involved in our work to help Unrest. So the things Lori and Erica have covered so far, these three main things, you don't have to be even in the ME Action Network to do any of these things. Host a screening, be a film captain, share your story. Those are the kind of things we're rolling out and talking about now that everyone can do. But we're always thinking about more things we can do and ways we can do things better. So if you'd like to be a part of kind of ME Action's work on developing advocacy materials and helping with this impact campaign, please come to us, because we would love to get you more involved in the work ME Action does. Sorry, go ahead, Lori.
I love that. No, that was very important to say. And so, yeah, I think this answers those two questions. So we will have them available. So I guess there are two pieces. So The host materials are available after you sign up to host a screening. So the discussion guides, etc. But then we do have a lot of outreach materials available that are available to you now, because we want you to be able to use them in order to do outreach and promote. So as we have materials available, we'll post them in the Facebook group. And then the moment the Kickstarter ends, we'll have that available on our site as well, so that you'll be able to we have a sample press release, a sample outreach letter, a flyer, a poster. So we have lots of things that you're able to use and that we want you to use. And if there's more that you need, again, just like Ben said, let us know, reach out, and we're happy to figure out the best resources for you.
And just one example to mention there's already a kit being developed for people, and then ME Action is partnering with Unrest to develop other aspects of this kit, other things that we can help out with. So one of the things Lori and Erica came to ME Action and asked to help out with was, could ME Action help us create like a handout for how to talk to people with ME, and the kind of missteps or the things to do or to not to do. So those are things we're talking about in our community. If you want to get more plugged in with ME Action, you have ideas about, these would be really good ways to talk about, or things not to say. Like, this has been my experience. Somebody always brings up this, and it's so hurtful to me. Like, I would really wish I could communicate to other people. Unrest is one of these ways that we're introducing this topic to a large audience that never has had this discussion before. So there may be ways, even just in your personal experience of living with the disease, that you have things you can contribute to what we do with this campaign. But again, you don't have to love any of your creative help and ideas with those types of things, but you also don't have to. You can we're going to be developing a lot of things. Unrest will be giving you packets and materials that you can use in hosting these screenings or pointing people towards these screenings.
And Amy asked what format the community screening film would be available. We have it available on DVD and Blu-ray.
And we'll also have the film available as a streaming link. And Caitlin and Carla at Film Sprout can walk you through all of the different formats. But those are the three: DVD, Blu-ray, and like a streaming link that's mostly used as a backup.
Yeah, it's mostly emergency when something's not working.
Yeah.
So Erica and Laura, could you answer two questions I'd kind of like to put together? Is one, Celine in the Netherlands is asking about, what about doing like Millions Missing Shoe events outside and using them with the combining with the screen? How can we do things like that? Another question that Susan Smith, Michigan, has is about how does having the panel with the screening work? So what when we're thinking about hosting these events and things we might do, people might do before or might do after the event. How do they think through and figure out what they can do, what they can't, or what's best to do? Can you give some guidance there?
Absolutely. So we're certainly here to brainstorm on the Facebook group, but oftentimes it depends on your venue and what you work out with your venue. I love the idea of incorporating a big event before your screening. I think that's perfect, and I think that is just a great example of using the film for bigger advocacy efforts. I think that's so cool. So practically speaking, the sky's the limit. So if you can work it out with your venue and with your fellow hosts, then you are certainly able to do that. And in a lot of places, if you're really clear up front about the huge event that you want to do from beginning to end, if you describe that with your venue, then oftentimes people are going to work with you. And a panel being an example of something that most venues do all the time. So that would be something that, as long as you had a clear plan, then you could just lay it out from the beginning. And of course, I do think going back to that Facebook group and brainstorming is a great thing to do, because people may come up with good suggestions of panelists or what worked for them or what didn't work for them. And so I think we'll figure that out as a group as it goes.
Awesome. And I just wanted to acknowledge another question that Karen Withers Green had in the UK. So we talked a lot about US stuff, but we are thinking about the unrest globally, and we do actually the Impact Campaign. If you look at the Kickstarter, you scroll down, there are a bunch of images of a lot of different people involved. So Lori and Erica are doing a great job leading a lot of this, but there are a lot of people involved in this Time for Unrest Impact Campaign. And we have staff, a woman named Lucy in the UK, who's kind of Erica's counterpart. And we weren't talking as much about this. Erica, you can, or Lori, you can jump in if you want, because if you'll notice, the release date in the UK is a little bit later than the US. So a lot of things are starting first in the US. But if you have I was on the phone the other day talking with Lucy about what an impact campaign in the UK looks like, different factors and things we need to think through. If you have different ideas, want to get involved, in a deeper way, of course, the three main ways we're already talking about, anybody can get involved with, anybody can join the Unrest Facebook group and post your suggestions or ideas. And we are trying to push a lot of people towards that Facebook group because there's so many different ways we get communication all the time. And so it's really helpful to have people talking about unrest in one place where we can kind of cross-pollinate all this stuff. But if you want to get involved in a deeper way through ME Action, absolutely get in touch with me. We've got a lot of UK activists working together there, and I can help see I can connect you with then some of the impact campaign stuff that is being done in the UK. But as we've said, Unrest is rolling out a little bit later in the UK, and please come to and join our Facebook group because that's where
Lucy's pretty active on the Facebook group, so she's very present there, and so just like Ben said, the UK is starting a bit later in terms of their community screenings because their theatrical will be in October, which is kind of perfect because we can see what worked and what failed in the US, and then the UK can go from there, which is pretty exciting. But they're a great team, and I will say that Film Sprout is the group that is organizing community screenings everywhere in the world except for the UK. In the UK, it is Together Films, and it functions the exact same way as Film Sprout. They have the same rules, but it's two different people because there has just been such a wonderful group of people in the UK that are ready to do big things, and so we hired a separate community screenings organization to work on the UK specifically. And they're also on the Facebook group.
And one of the other things I just want to ask you, Eric and Lori, to share about, Elizabeth, thank you for mentioning just sharing that we need to keep sharing the Kickstarter campaign to maximize our potential. Could you guys say a little bit more about why the Kickstarter campaign has reached its $100,000 goal? What are we going for still? And what are we trying to do in these last 6 days, and why is it important? And then if you could also, someone else asked about, you mentioned the different theatrical releases that we currently have. Can we try to get more theatrical releases? What should activists just be focused on community screenings, or should we try to get more theatrical releases in other ways? So talk to us a little bit more about this. Is all really exciting. We're still doing a fundraising push. So what's that about? And is there other ways we should be pushing film distribution, or is that really too hard or doesn't work well?
Yeah, well, in terms of the Kickstarter, we do have 6 days left, and the more we raise, the more we can do. We are so excited to take the VR and the film to medical conferences. We're so excited to take it to medical schools and to do big stunt events so that we can draw attention to the campaign and to ME as a whole. And all of those things cost a lot of money. So the more we're able to raise, the more we're able to do, and the more likely we'll be able to meet all of our goals, particularly the medical goal, and then also the goal of just widespread recognition, because yeah, the bigger and better things we'll be able to do with that. And so yeah, if you have capacity to keep spreading the word about our Kickstarter, let's see what we can do in the next 6 days. I mean, we're so thrilled to have reached that $100,000 goal. But man, if we could double it, it would be pretty exciting. So
if anybody's ever talked with Jen personally, and you know how many different ideas she comes up with, there are always more ways that I'm sure there are many things that you have in your queue of list of dreams that you like to do and that we can do with more money. So yes, please share that.
yeah.
Now about the theatrical screenings, and I see Roland's also asking about kind of film festivals. How does all of this, this is kind of new, and Unrest has been doing film festivals. Unrest has a plan for theatrical screenings. Like, and then, people want to kind of see the film when it's going to be broadcast later or streamed later. Can you talk to us more about this community screening moment as it fits into all the other things that are going on?
Yeah,
and have
absolutely.
gone on?
So Unrest has been in festivals over the past year, a lot of festivals, which is really exciting. But the festival moment is sort of winding down because we're winding down for the theatrical. Now, Bergen is still coming up, and I'm pretty sure I saw Elizabeth on this call. We have a couple of festivals that are coming up near just as we're winding this down. And so we may be reaching out if the festival is in your area for support, because we do want to make those festivals as good as they can be, and definitely advocacy moments, so that anyone who comes to a festival just to see a film now all of a sudden is going to be educated around Emmy. So that's the festival piece. But then the theatrical, we're actually doing a fairly large theatrical in terms of a typical documentary film release. So it being in New York for as long as it is, and then LA and San Francisco and Seattle, it's a fairly large theatrical push. And so while we may be able to four-wall in certain cities, we won't be having any other typical theatricals, mainly because if people sign up for a community screening right now in Omaha, we don't want to have a theatrical that limits that or pushes that back. We want the community moments to be happening right now. And sometimes theatricals don't get you as much as you actually would like them to. Oftentimes, it's incredibly expensive, and what you'd rather have is a one-off amazing event filled with people that are ready to organize versus having to deal with a bureaucracy of theaters and everything that entails. So I think it's really exciting to jump on this community screenings moment in terms of movement building and also just practically speaking what we'd be able to accomplish.
Yeah. I just want to say that, for me, over the past year, starting to learn about films and documentaries and knowing nothing before, and seeing other documentarians and what they're doing, the advice that Eric and I heard was like, the plan looks different for every different film, because each one is trying to do something different. And so I just want to assure you that like Eric and Lori have been working really hard, and Jen, to kind of think about what does this plan look like, and all the various different pieces, to accomplish what is right for our community and our situation. So it could look, you could design this distribution and everything and the deals and the community screens in 100 different ways, but we were trying to do it a very specific way because we think it will have the most impact for this community, which is like what Lori is mentioning, that we don't want to spend too much time on theatrical screenings where community screenings could really get us the impact that we want. And also just to mention, I love Shelby's thought where she's like, how about we push for an Academy Award nomination? Let's get Jen accepting a award from her wheelchair for best documentary. So I love your enthusiasm, Shelby. One thing to think about is like that's part of what we've done. A lot of what we've talked about and we'll be talking about is like how do we make change for the community and impact, and direct impact there. But there's been a lot of thought also about like, in order to get into the Academy Award or be accepted for different nominations, you have to do like certain film festival screen runs, and so there's been thought put into why to do it a certain way before, when we were much more limited in who could see the film and how, and some of that was to I assume to build eligibility for different awards later on. So, and I don't know that much about that, but just saying like a lot of these things have been thought out for future things. But right now, as Erica and Lori have talked about, what we're really most focused on and most excited about is the community impact. Because, and what Emmy Action is excited about is this is the opportunity for long term to spark something that can have a long term impact. You know, I'm in Wisconsin. I want to create multiple moments. There's a film festival coming to Milwaukee. Super excited about. We're looking at reaching out to universities, and we're working with patient groups. Like there's a moment in time that a lot of different change can happen, and that we can excite people, bring people out of the woodwork, and accomplish things that we really couldn't do without a high profile a thing like this. So we're 5 minutes over still, and we need to wrap up. And I apologize for going long, but I think we've answered all the questions so
I
far.
just want to
So I'll hand it.
answer Laura's two questions super quickly.
Yes.
The trailer question, we won't have a trailer on a DVD, but you can share the trailer online very easily, and we'll make sure that we keep posting that in the group. And then also, of course, Jen's TED Talk. I think you're right that those are two great tools to try to get people to screen the film. And so we'll make sure that's available in the Facebook group for you to share. And then in terms of high school screenings, I think that's absolutely appropriate. I think it's just on a school-by-school basis as what you would recommend, knowing your particular community and area. And then Robert will be sure to post which Unrest screenings Jen will be at in LA. That's not completely confirmed just because Jen's schedule is complicated because there's so many things overlapping at the same time. But when we do know and it's a public event, we'll be sure to let you know. And I think that's all the questions.
All right, so is it okay with everybody if we start just wrapping up real quick and doing a summary? I'm just gonna point out something. I can't stress enough the importance of the third call to action, which is to share your story. I know a lot of the questions have had to do with hosting a screening and being a film captain, which makes sense because these are very actionable, tangible things that we can do. But also sharing your story can really help us on multiple levels, whether we're able to apply to grants later on, being able to spread and just raise awareness, hopefully reaching out to the medical community in other ways. Also, just hosting a screening and being a film captain. Last weekend, Laurie and I were at the Stanford Community Symposium, and we met a lot of ME patients who came with their family, their friends. One of our friends came with her husband's friend and his coworkers, so that's wonderful. And I think one of the ways that you can do that is through community screenings, and people would learn a lot just by watching the film and hopefully engaging in conversation afterwards. Definitely being a film captain is something that I myself think I would love to do, just because I have a very wide social media network. If you're able to live tweet, that would be wonderful as well. We noticed that Twitter garners a lot of attention, and people retweet and so on. So just think of it as in a way that's kind of comprehensive, and kind of like what Erica said. If there's something that you can do right now, just keep it on a back burner. You might want to visit it later on. We're not going anywhere. This is going to take us a couple of months. We're going to be busy. There is momentum, so we do not want to lose this, but it really seems to be something that we can hopefully keep active and energized for a number of months. So the momentum will last. So please don't, overdo it. Don't overwhelm yourselves. We seem to be getting a lot of questions, which is awesome. If you think of more questions or things that you want to run by us or ideas that you want to share with us, this is a learning platform for all of us. So we're really open to ideas that you guys have, and just reach out after the call. We're always here.
Great. Thanks, Lamia. That was a really good thing, and especially for a lot of us. A lot of you are probably tired. It's been over an hour now, but we know. I'm just seeing Mark here, and others, and thinking of like those who can't even be on this call. But there are still ways that though you may not be able to get out visibly, be part of, go to any community screenings or go to any theatrical releases, or be a film captain, do any of those things. Yes, Mark. But you can share your story, or you can have and so especially be thinking about taking this message back to some of those who can't make this call, who and share with them. Like, you don't have to share with them all the details or the ways it might get them overwhelmed, but like, hey, there's a way you can share your story. You are part of this. This isn't just about Jen or any one person. This is about all of us. And this, what we're trying to do here is create a way for all of us to be part of this, for all of us to tell our story. So thank you, Lamia, for reminding us about that. All right. Erica, any
questions coming? I guess because
great.
And I guess Erica and Lori would work with us on getting answers to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. I'm gonna stop the recording, and then if you guys have just a couple questions, you can ask them if you want, or say hi. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and
thank you, everyone.
all the work you do.
Thank you.